Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Tori Ullman. I'm the student pastor at Mauldin First Baptist, and we want to welcome you to joining our online service today. Hey, what's going on in Mauldin Youth? Here's our announcements for this week. Just to let you know, a lot of things are still canceled. Yes. We're currently waiting to see how things go. We'll meet again on Monday, talk things over, but as of right now, it seems like everything's just kind of on hold. So hang in there and bear with us. We will be having some more Instagram lives coming up though, so thank you for those of you who've been tuning into those, hanging out with us. We appreciate that. This coming week, what we're gonna do though, some people kind of been chilling and having late dinners and stuff like that. I know there's been several nights where like my parents and I have been scrounging around trying to quick eat before jumping on at 7. So let's go ahead and do 8 o'clock. We'll do 8 o'clock Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So tune in for the Instagram live devotional stuff going on there. I'll put the little stuff down below so that way you can find us on Instagram. I'll try to do some other fun things during the week. Feel free to join in. Set your notifications on so that way you know what's going down. The yard sale, not quite sure what's happening with that. It's one of those things where we're going to be pushing stuff on hold till middle of April. And that means it's only going to give us a couple weeks to try to get the yard sale done if we're going to do it. We'll keep you posted on that. I know this is something that everybody kind of looks forward to. I was looking forward to try to get things going with it. But like I said, we don't know what's going on. So just bear with us. Hopefully we'll have some news on that. Camp is still happening. There's still spaces. I got a call from them this week and we're still looking good as of right now. So feel free to sign up and grab those last couple spots on there. Invite your friends to join us. The mission trip is also currently still on the books. So we've got a few spaces left. The deadline has kind of actually been and gone. But due to the situation we're in right now, we've still got some spaces. But do let us know as soon as possible. That way they can get things planned for facilities, for being able to find places to sleep, making sure they have enough showers, because it's going to be Knoxville, Tennessee in the middle of summer. It's going to be hot. We need to make sure we got enough showers. Okay, just saying. Trying to think if that's about it. Yes. On the other hand, other news that's going on, the water company would like to make sure that you are not flushing any t-shirts, socks, underwear, toys, or anything else down the toilet at this time. Make sure it's just toilet paper. Just toilet paper. But your local plumbers would love to buy a new boat to use this summer or a new house. So if you'd like to support the local plumbers, please feel free to flush whatever you want down the toilet. Not that I'm encouraging you to. This is not an encouragement to flush anything down the toilet other than toilet paper. Also, right now, your hairdressers would like to remind you, just wait, leave your hair alone. Don't go cutting anything on your own. It's not like we're hanging out with anybody other than your family right now, so who cares what we look like, right? So leave your hair alone. Well, they're more than ready to take care of you once this whole thing has been lifted and we can get back to things. But if you do decide to cut your own hair, make sure you take a picture of it and tag us in it, because we'd love to see how that turns out. Oh my. So I guess that's about it for the announcements, and we'll get on with the teaching. Hey everyone, thanks for joining Youth Group Online again. So we'll keep doing this until things change. So appreciate you jumping in here, whether it's Sunday morning at 10 o'clock or maybe another time. I am recording outside, so there might be some wind. Might have to do a little bit of editing or pausing to wait for the wind like this to stop, so that way it's not super annoying. Because I can't find my mic, it's somewhere. So this session we're talking about how Jesus defeated things. And today we'll be talking about how Jesus defeated sin. How many of you guys have felt undefeated? You feel pretty good when you're undefeated, right? I mean, look at the Clemson Tigers. They had a really good year last year and were pretty undefeated. But somebody came along and they defeated them. And that's one of those things where at some point somebody's always going to defeat us and we're going to feel defeated. And, I can think back to camp when I was in primary school. I'd go to camp and we'd have an air hockey table, and I loved playing air hockey, got really good at it. And you get a good streak going on, and all of a sudden somebody comes along and defeats you. And then you got to go back to the back of the line and start all over. It's kind of like when you're playing Foursquare, you get to the king spot and you're like, yes, but then somebody comes in, they take you out, and then you're done. or gaga ball. Maybe you're really good at gaga ball. So think of a time in your life where you were undefeated and it felt pretty good. But then think about maybe a time where you get defeated and how that made you feel. Well, in life, there's some things that are really easy to get over. I don't think about those times where I got defeated playing air hockey or foursquare or something like that. But I am thinking right now about how defeated I feel because of the situation we're in. When I moved back to Greenville, and now I'm stuck. I can't hang out with you guys. I've got friends that are a quarter of the way around the world that I can't spend time with. Even if I was over there, couldn't be able to hang with them. I've got friends here that I haven't seen in ages and I'd love to see, but I can't. So right now I'm feeling pretty defeated. And just the other day they shut the state parks down. And it's one of those things where it's like, this is the one thing I could still enjoy doing. So right now, I'm not thinking about when I got defeated at air hockey or foursquare or something like that. I'm thinking about how defeated I'm feeling as a human being stuck in the situation we're in. So some things are little defeats and some things are big defeats and are harder to get over. And that's the same thing with sin. Sin's kind of that same way too. Today, like I said, we're talking about how Jesus defeated sin, which is good. We're going to look at two passages. One of them is in 2 Corinthians 5:21 and the other one's in Hebrews 12:1-2. 2 Corinthians 5:21 says, For God made Christ, who never sinned, to be the offering for our sin, so that we could be made right with God through Christ. Now, if we look at Hebrews 12 says, Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion, who initiates and perfects our faith. So we're talking about how sin can defeat us. There's some defeats that are tiny, and there's some sins in your life that are tiny. And you do it, you're kind of like, oh man, I feel bad, and you move on. But then there's other sins that are much greater. And it's one of those things where it's harder to get over those sins, and they stick with you for a long time, and you concentrate on it and you focus on it. That's the nice thing about Easter. We're celebrating a time where God can come, where God sent Jesus to come and die for our sins, so that way he could defeat sin once and for all, and then we could be seen perfect. And that's what the passage in 2 Corinthians is talking about. All right, so we see here in 2 Corinthians 5:21, For God made Christ, who never sinned, to be the offering of our sin, so that we could be made right with God through Christ. And so we've got, for God made Christ to be an offering for our sin. That's why Jesus came, that's why we celebrate Easter. And then with the Instagram live things we talk about, we're dissecting verses and talking about there's because of this, then that, or because so that. There's a lot of comparison things. Because one thing happens, another thing has to happen. And this verse runs the same way. It's, for God made Christ to be an offering for our sin. Why? So that we could be made right with God through Christ. And that's why we celebrate Easter. So that we can, Christ dying, so that way we can be made right with Christ and have victory over sin and defeat sin. That's what Jesus did for us, which is awesome. In the book of Hebrews, we read that we need to fix our eyes on Jesus to help overcome our sin. So if we look at Hebrews 12:1-2, it says, Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down. That's talking about sin. Because it says here, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. So here the Bible is talking about getting rid of the sin, defeating the sin in our lives that's tripping us up, that's keeping us from doing what God's want us to do. And how do we do this? Well, verse 2 says, we do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects the faith. So we're seeing here that Jesus came to defeat sin. We see that in the 2 Corinthians passage. And then in Hebrews 12, we see that we need to fix our eyes on him, so that way we can continue to run the race God's called us to and have victory over sin that's in our lives. So as we take a look at Easter, and we see that Jesus came to defeat our sin, and we're no longer seen as sinful human beings in God's eyes. We're still living in sinful human bodies, but we've got that filter like we talked last week, how Jesus is now a filter that God sees us through. So we're seen as perfect through him. We shouldn't feel quite so defeated by sin in our lives. But we do need to take action. It's one of those things we can't just sit back and be like, okay, I can do whatever I want because I'm seen as perfect. No, we do need to take action, and we do need to realize the things that are defeating us. If you don't know what's defeating you, if you don't know who your opponent is, you can't beat them. So we need to know what it is that's tripping us up. And then we also need to take action and figure out how we can keep from getting tripped up. And then after that, we need to always remember that God sees us as perfect, and that yes, we're going to trip up and fail, but just remember that Jesus died to defeat sin so that now you're seen as perfect in God's eyes. And you can have that restored relationship with him like we talked about last week. So as you go throughout this week, take action. Figure out what it is that's tripping you up. What's holding you back from having that relationship with God. Find a way to take action against it. And just remember that, hey, God loves me no matter what I do. As long as I stay focused on him. I got to stay focused on him. And then we'll be able to defeat sin in our lives.